Good afternoon. Hello, my name is Tamara Kraker. I am a coach, facilitator, and speaker on self-awareness and the Enneagram. And today I am joined by Genny, my good friend Genny. Genny is an instructor at the University of Winnipeg PACE program and at the Robertson College online. And she also hosts a program at the UMulticultural Network, which you should definitely check out. She was
Mhm.
just telling me about one of her most recent interviews, and it sounds fascinating. And the reason she is here today is because she is an Enneagram 2. Welcome here.
Well, I'm glad to be here, Tamara. Yes, and I love it. I love anything about the Enneagram.
Amazing. Well, and I was actually on Jenny's program also, and we talked about the Enneagram. So, I'm very excited about this conversation today and to hear more about your perspective on being an Enneagram 2.
Okay, well, fire away.
Okay, awesome. So to start, why don't you tell us about when you first learned your Enneagram type and what stood out to you or made it click?
Oh, good question. That would have been, oh my gosh, 20, just over 20 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah, 20 years ago, I was working for a company called Infocorp. It
Mhm.
was a publicly traded company that sold POS systems.
Hmm.
And the senior vice president of marketing and sales, Roy Grant,
Hmm.
Roy was very interested in the Enneagram. And
Hmm.
so, what he did for anyone who was interested, not just the staff, but anyone who wanted to join, he went to, and I forget the name of it. It was David and Carol. What was that? What was their business name again?
Inscapes.
Inscapes,
Inscapes.
there we
Yes.
go. So I remember that we went to Inscapes for several sessions actually. So
Okay.
initially it was the introduction to Enneagram, and
Yep.
then it was talking about the different types, and then we even delved into things like the animals that are associated with the Enneagram type,
Mm.
and then we talked about the physical things that are associated with the Enneagram. So like
Sure.
ones, their eyebrow go up and the finger pointing, that kind of thing. So we really delved into it, and it was, I think, 2 to 3 hour sessions, and there was a number of us.
Mm.
But anyway, that was when I first discovered the Enneagram. And when I learned I was a two, it was like no surprise
Mm.
because I've always been the helper. I
Mm.
can remember as even as a young child, you know, doing for others,
Mm.
right?
Mm.
Helping the teacher, being like the teacher's pet kind of thing.
Right.
So, but in a sense of like, okay, this is me, and learning a little bit about both sides of me, ones where I'm a healthy two and ones where I'm not a healthy two. And
Mm.
sometimes I think I don't know if it's the two or the redhead, but
Mm.
it comes out.
I love that. Thank you so much for explaining that because that's really what these interviews are designed for is to see that there's a full spectrum of each Enneagram number and that there really is characteristics that become double-edged swords for us. So thank
Mhm.
you. That's really helpful. So what kind of environments would you say bring out the best in you?
Ooh, that's a good one. I would say the environment where I am out with friends or out doing my own thing, anywhere where, so I love browsing, browsing bookstores and coffee shops and sitting, having coffee. I have no problem doing that by myself. Um, just being out and being with myself. But also, if I'm out with friends, we're out together, and that's when I can really be myself. Also with Lenny, my granddaughter, it's she's a force already. I don't know, I don't quite know what she is yet, but yeah, so she's a force. So I don't. It's not even so much about me helping her. It's waiting to find out what she needs
Mm.
and for her to tell me,
Mm.
right? So those kind of scenarios where I don't have to do anything,
Hmm.
you
Well, and I
know?
think you're explaining the perspective of a healthy two is not to assume you know what people need, but to wait to hear and to listen and connect.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Because when I know for myself that when I try to help where it's not asking, do you need help? It's just me jumping in. And a lot of times that can cause some friction, like my daughter, who's also two.
Mhm.
Yeah, I'll want to do something and say, like, Mom, sit down. Mom, it's okay. Mom, I got it. Okay. Right. All right, I'll sit down.
That
Right.
must be such an interesting dynamic between the two of
Oh, oh my gosh. Right. So two twos, and then there's Lenny. So yeah.
you. Wow. I just loved that answer and bringing in the fact that when you have people of your same type, there's such an interesting, um, it's a mirror, but it's interesting to see the strengths and challenges in your same type. And then a mother-daughter pattern would be,
Oh my gosh. That adds a
yeah,
whole,
absolutely.
yeah.
Absolutely. So my next question is around what gives you energy, but also what drains your energy. So what have you noticed around your workplace? What are some things that give you energy at work, and what are some things that maybe drain your energy at work?
Mm. Okay, that's an easy one to answer. When I'm teaching, when I'm doing my program, when I'm sharing myself, when I'm sharing
Mm,
myself with others,
mhm,
with my students, with, anyone basically, if I'm sharing myself and sharing what I think is knowledge for them,
mm,
and they can take it or leave it, whatever they're learning, right? But sharing myself, and I feel that I am probably at my best self
mm,
because even with the program, with the interviews, I don't think of them as interviews or conversations.
mm,
So I start, and I mean, because we had that,
mhm,
but it's more about connecting. So if I
mm,
can connect with people in a way that I'm still giving
mhm,
of myself, but I'm giving and not. So it's different when twos when they give and they help.
mhm,
They want that validation. They
mhm,
want that, pat on the back or a thank you or some acknowledgement that, you've done something, right? And typically when twos don't get that,
mhm,
it builds up,
mm,
until they become, frustrated and then,
mm,
angry and so
mhm,
on.
mhm,
But when you're giving and not expecting anything in return, and
mm,
your whole purpose is to help them with knowledge,
mm,
then that is when I'm my best self.
mm,
What drains me
mm,
is when I I'm asked to do sort of mundane
mm,
things, like even marking, like
mm,
sometimes marking. And so when I'm marking and the students, they do a great job and it's like, yes, well done,
mhm,
well done.
mhm,
And then when I look at an assignment and I'm like, oh my God, right? Like this is going to be terrible.
mhm,
And I was telling a girlfriend the feedback that I give, it's not just like, it's different if they did everything well. It's like, well done, da da da. That's all I need to say.
sure.
But when I have to give, I give a lot of feedback. So I'm, almost like here
Mhm,
we go.
mhm,
And half the time I don't know if they read it,
mm,
care, if they think,
mm,
what the F is
mhm,
she, who does she think she is giving me this kind of feedback,
sure.
right? And I actually had a student once. She sent me an email. She told me I was the worst instructor ever.
What?
Yeah, I guess she didn't like my feedback.
Wow, that's such intense feedback for you. Yikes.
Yeah, I know.
Wow.
And you know what? And it's interesting because when you get, you can do everything right, but then when you get that one little thing and then you obsess about it and it's like, oh my God, I'm a terrible instructor.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody hates me. No, I didn't
Mm-hmm.
go that far, but you know
Mm-hmm.
what I'm saying? So you obsess about
Mm-hmm.
those things. So when I deal with, I mean, I love my husband to bits, but when he constantly comes in with these Facebook things and it's like, I really don't care. Like, I don't want to hear anything more about it. I don't care and it's like, and I don't want to hurt his feelings by saying, like, I'm not interested. Don't tell me ever
Right.
again.
Right.
So it's like, all right. And then, and then when he's asking me for help and I give him the help and he doesn't like what I'm saying, it's like, so why are you asking me? Like,
Right. Right. Right.
you don't want my help, so stop asking, right?
Right. So that must fall in the draining your energy category.
Oh my gosh.
Well, and I have to say, it's interesting hearing you talk about some of those other sides because twos really do value that connection. And so receiving feedback like, I don't want your help or I don't appreciate your help with my assignments, that's hard to take for any of us, but it's really hard to take for someone who's genuinely trying to connect.
Mhm.
So bravo to you for taking in that feedback and being able to parse out, like, no, I know I did what I needed to do, and that relationship, if it's not going to move forward, then it's not going to move forward, and that's okay.
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, you're welcome.
What is something that you know about yourself now that you wish you had known earlier?
Ooh, not to not to have so many expectations,
Hmm.
where you expect that people are going to be good, maybe generous. Like if I help you, you're going to help me,
Mhm.
and then getting disappointed over and
Mhm.
over again when that doesn't pan out,
Mhm.
right? Even to the point of, as teenagers or even as young as Lenny, who's 7,
Mhm.
who's already figured out, who's who in the playground and, who do I have to, butter up to be my friend or, whatever that is.
Mhm.
Um, it's, if I knew now what I know now, if I knew then, I would have done things a little differently.
Mhm.
I would have concentrated more on things that light me up, like you
Mhm.
talk about joy, right?
Mhm.
Things that bring me joy
Yeah.
are things that I want to do. And back then it's you want to fit in so badly,
Mhm.
right? That you're willing to do almost anything
Right.
to be to be part of the group.
Right. Well, and you're bringing up a really great point where twos and nines intersect. And twos and nines, what they have in common is that they're other focused. And so it feels when you're not aware, it feels like what another person has can give you what you're looking for. It feels like if I could fit in, if they liked me, or if, I was approved of by these people, then that would solve the discontent I have inside me. And it
Mhm.
just isn't, that's just not how it works, right? That's our path, is to realize that we are the ones that offer up contentment and joy
Yeah.
ourselves. Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah. All right, our final question is, what is one piece of advice that you would give to someone who is wired like you?
Hmm. Well, I don't know if there's anybody who is wired like me. Uh, I would say protect your energy.
Mm,
Don't give more than you need to.
mm,
Uh, Prioritize your self-care,
mm,
and self-care can look like a lot of things.
mm,
Self-care can be sitting in solitude and
mm,
not have to have my husband bugging me about Facebook posts and stuff.
mm,
It's doing what you love to do without having
mm,
to explain to anyone or ask permission.
mm,
It's like when I joined the gym that I go to, and that was a year ago, April 17th,
mm,
that I joined. I didn't ask my husband if I
mm,
could. I didn't tell him I was
mm,
doing it.
mm,
until I was actually doing it, and it's like, yeah, I'm going to the gym.
Mm.
I would get up in the morning because I go to 7 o'clock, and I'd be getting ready, and he's sleeping, and he wakes up and he's like, "Oh, you going for a workout?" Yep. And then I come home. "Oh, how was the workout?" "It was good."
Mm. Mm.
Right? So it's doing what you want to do and really leaning into it
Mm.
and knowing that this is important to you.
Mm.
Because when we give up the things that are important, every day, I forget who was it that said, we all die a little deaths through
Mm.
the day.
Mm.
Disappointments and regrets and, things that can bring us down and make us feel less than.
Mhm.
So it's treasuring the joys that come about. I think I read someone that there's glimmers, right? So you look at the beautiful things, the small details that
Yeah.
come up, and that perfect cup of coffee. Somebody smiling at you. Some flowers. Today I was downtown and they had mowed the grass on the boulevard, and I love the smell of freshly mown grass. So you just the smell of baked goods, whatever it is that brings you those joys,
Yeah.
it's collecting those joys,
Yeah.
putting them in an imaginary jar so that you can go back and you can revisit those when, the days are not as perfect as they could be.
I love that. Well, and you're really explaining so well the work of Enneagram twos. I think twos really struggle to find what they like because they're trying to do what other people like. And so finding those little joys and incorporating them into your day is such big work for those of
Mhm.
us that are looking to other people instead of to ourselves. We need to find ourselves first, find what brings us joy.
I love that. Find ourselves first.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Because sometimes we don't know who we are. And so we try to be somebody else. And, I've done that. We've all done that. We've all tried to be somebody else because we
Mhm.
think, oh, they're so cool. I'd
Mhm.
love to be like them.
Mhm.
But then you can't really be like them,
Mhm.
and you have to discover who you are
Yes.
and own yourself, all the foibles and the warts and the whatever,
Yeah.
and here you are, right?
Yeah. The whole person. Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, thank you so much for joining me today. I really appreciate your insight into Enneagram 2s, and I know other people will too.
Well, wonderful. It's been always a pleasure talking to you. I always enjoy our conversations, and so glad that I was able to provide a little bit into the world of twos.
Absolutely. Thank you so much and have a great day.
You too. Thanks, Tam.
Thank you.